Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. May 2nd, 2018.
The Kuhner Report is powered by Kelly Financial Services, cleaning up your financial bull. Get the peace of mind that you deserve at Kelly Financial Services.
And now the war between Mueller and Trump escalates into a potential historic confrontation. Okay, my friends, here it is. I was warning everybody about this for months. It has now essentially arrived. In an explosive piece in the Washington Post, which has now been confirmed by both the Trump administration and by Robert Mueller's legal team, Robert Mueller is now threatening President Trump with a subpoena if he does not voluntarily sit down with him for an interview. In other words, in plain English, Robert Mueller now wants to go to court, and he threatens he will go to court to compel, to force President Trump to sit down and answer all of his questions. And so here, my friends, now is the absolute latest. We are now heading for a clear, a constitutional crisis at minimum, and an historic confrontation potentially between Robert Mueller and Donald Trump. Because Trump is now saying, no way, Jose, I'm not sitting down. In fact, as he just tweeted this morning, Mueller now it's a setup. And this is a trap to nail me on a process crime, making a false statement, perjury, a misstatement, whatever it is. And so now both sides have now dug in their heels. So, as you know, the New York Times leaked 49, they weren't even questions. They were really topics. Really, it's not 49 questions. It's potentially an endless amount of questions, but 49 topics, i.e. questions, that Robert Mueller says he wants answers to from President Trump. And as I said yesterday on this show, it's a fishing expedition. Many of these questions are so broad, they're so airy, they're so vague, that clearly they are there to set the president up, not to find the truth about Russia collusion or a genuine search for justice. They are there, as President Trump has rightly now said, it's a perjury trap. It's a setup. Basically, they want to nail him on something or anything. And so, as this story was leaked, another story came out in the Washington Post this morning, which is that at a key meeting on March 5th, Robert Mueller and his team sat down with Trump's lawyers. And for the first time, Robert Mueller told them, I have all of these questions. The president needs to answer them. And as Mueller told the legal team, if he doesn't answer them, I will issue a subpoena. I will compel him against his will to sit down with me and answer all of these questions. To which then his lawyer, his lead lawyer, he's no longer his lead lawyer, John Dowd, allegedly exploded and said, you are playing games with the president of the United States. He has a country to run. What do you think you're doing? Now, according to multiple media reports, Trump's legal team, led by Jay Sekulow and others, are now absolutely convinced that Robert Mueller now, it's obvious, has nothing on Russia collusion. In fact, if you look at the 49 so-called questions, really, to me, as I said, they're almost like topics, subjects, almost none of it, very little of it, focuses on interference in the election, coordinating or colluding with Putin or the Kremlin or the Russian government. The overwhelming majority focuses on potential obstruction of justice regarding the firing of James Comey. So they are now gunning for Trump on obstruction. Alan Dershowitz has now, in an interview with the Washington Post, and he's also said this on other cable news networks, Alan Dershowitz says that when you look at the questions, they are clearly not specific, sharp questions designed to elicit a yes or no answer. They are deliberately vague, deliberately broad, as Dershowitz puts it, to get the president to ramble, to talk. These are Dershowitz's words. To feel comfortable. And as he talks and talks and talks, as Dershowitz told the Washington Times, it is a trap to get him to say something or anything that they could nail him for a potential perjury charge. And so Alan Dershowitz, no conservative, no friend of the conservative movement, as a civil libertarian, says he has never seen anything so outrageous, so beyond the scope and the mandate of a special counsel as these questions that are clearly now a perjury trap. And he is urging the president, whatever you do, do not sit down with Robert Mueller. But it doesn't matter, because now the entire mainstream media, the entire deep state, the entire Democratic Party, including the Republican establishment, are putting maximum pressure on Trump to sit down with Mueller. In fact, there is already legislation that has been passed in the Senate Judiciary Committee that protects Robert Mueller, and now they want to vote on it in the Senate that would deny Trump the ability to fire Robert Mueller. And they are now urging the president, just get in that room. And this is what the liberals want. They set up this false narrative of collusion. They made it up to get a special counsel. And then they use this special counsel to go after the president in a massive fishing expedition. And now all they want is to get him down, sit him down in a room. And this, by the way, according to Dershowitz, these questions are so broad, so open-ended, so vague, frankly, so ridiculous, that it's going to take not 2 hours or 3 hours or 6 hours. According to Dershowitz, it would take at least 2 to 3 days for Trump to answer all of these questions. In other words, they want him to testify for 24, 30, 35, 40 hours. And within those 40 hours, they are going to look, cherry pick for any statement, any word, any comment that they can use against him to then lay out the case that the president of the United States made false statements to the FBI, lied about something, committed perjury, whatever it may be. Just get him in that room. That's all they want. Just get him in the room. Once they get him in the room, they think he's theirs. They won't nail him on Russia. They'll try to go after him on obstruction, which is ridiculous, because as Trump's lawyers rightly argue, he is the president of the United States. Under Article 2 of the Constitution, he, as the head of the executive branch, has the right to hire or fire any cabinet member or any member of the executive branch. And the last time I checked, the FBI is not above the law. The last time I checked, the FBI and the FBI director are not beyond being held accountable for their actions. They still, or he still, or she still, technically works for the president of the United States. So when Comey was fired, it is impossible to impeach Trump for obstruction because he was duly exercising his constitutional authority. But it doesn't matter. They're now gunning for Trump. So here is now exactly the confrontation that we face. Mueller now says, either you talk to me and I put you in a room under oath, or I will go to a grand jury. I will go to the courts and I will issue a subpoena and I will force you to sit down. If Trump refuses to comply with the subpoena, then the issue will go to the federal courts and most likely go all the way to the Supreme Court. Listen now to Alan Dershowitz on CNN. He got into a very heated debate with Jeffrey Toobin, the anti-Trump liberal analyst for CNN. Listen now to Alan Dershowitz lay out exactly what is at stake right now. Roll it, Jared.
Well, I think where we're going is to a subpoena. I think right now the president's legal team should have no interest in answering these enormously broad questions voluntarily. They'll get the same broad questions artfully asked at a grand jury, but at least they'll be able to challenge, A, the entire process of subpoenaing the president. They'll lose on that. Second,
you think that they will lose on that?
I think they will lose on that. I think they will win on some areas of questioning. For example, why did you fire? What was your motive? What was your reasoning? I don't think you can question presidential acts that are covered by Article 2. But
you can't get to intent.
I don't think you can, or motive. But I think what you can get to is what the president's most vulnerable on, and that is business dealings before he became president. No court is going to deny the grand jury the power to get to those questions. So the irony is those questions that he has the best legal right to prevent are not the most important questions, whereas the ones he has no legal right to prevent are the most damaging questions.
Jeff, I mean, based on this...
In other words, they're going to get him. Now, and I spoke about this with Grace, and she said, well, if he's got nothing to hide, what is he afraid of? Basically, it was a long conversation. I'm paraphrasing it and getting to the essence of it. And I said, look, every businessman in this country, I don't care, small business, medium-sized business, a billionaire, every businessman will tell you, there are so many regulations. There are so many crushing taxes. Every businessman cuts a few corners. It's obvious. Frankly, to survive, you have to cut a few corners. So once they start looking into your books, and I'm not saying this to defend Trump, I'm being honest with you. Ask any businessman. I'm asking you if you own a business. Okay, I don't want you to give me your exact name when you call in, but you're going to tell me you pay all of your taxes? You don't tell me you take a few extra deductions? You don't tell me you skirt some of that red tape and rules and regulations? Of course you do. Otherwise, you'd be crushed. Every businessman knows this. So they're either going to try to find something, anything in his business background to nail him, or, as Dershowitz has said, it's a perjury trap. Now, here is my strong advice to the President of the United States. Okay? He's 1,000% correct. This is clearly now a setup. This is clearly now a trap. They now are gunning for impeachment, and they're looking now to claim anything, no matter how ridiculous the pretext or the veneer, no matter how preposterous, for Mueller to come out and say, I think the president broke the law on A, B, and C. And this will justify the Democrats, should they sweep back to power in November, to impeach the president. The president now should say openly, I will not sit down with Mueller. You want to issue a subpoena? Go ahead. I'll take you to court. Let's fight this out in court. Because if this goes to court, I'm telling you all the way to the Supreme Court, a lot of the questions are going to get thrown out. Not only that, but you're going to see President Trump win on Article 2 on many of the so-called obstruction charges. No way are they going to say, yeah, right, the president doesn't have the right to fire the FBI. Please, it will gut Robert Mueller's case. But more than that, it is time for Trump to go on offense. And my recommendation now is this. Turn the midterm elections against Democrats, the swamp, and Mueller. Say this is a referendum on impeachment. This is a referendum on Mueller. If you give me a Republican House and a Republican Senate, I will take that as a mandate to fire Robert Mueller and disband and dismantle this entire witch hunt. Period. Full stop. And then when he wins in November, and I think on this issue, the country is so sick of this, they see it for what it is, a disgusting witch hunt and a slow motion coup. Trump will triumph in the November midterm elections, and the night of his election victory, when the Democrats do not take back the House, do not take back the Senate, he just looks in the camera and says, Robert Mueller, you're fired. What should Trump do? Should he comply with the subpoena? And now, is there a very serious threat to the president and to the presidency itself? Is Trump going down, and will Mueller take him down? 617-266-6868. Your calls next. 1225 here on the great WRKO. Okay, the gauntlet has now been thrown down. The confrontation has now metastasized into an all-out war. Mueller is now telling Trump straight out, you don't sit down for an interview 2 to 3 days. He's got a lot of questions he wants to ask him. You don't sit down, I will subpoena you and compel you, force you. Trump is now telling his lawyers hell will freeze over before he does that. That now is probably going to go to the courts and force Trump to sit down and essentially put him in a potential perjury trap. As all of this now is developing within the last 24 to 48 hours. More casualties of the witch hunt against Trump and the Russia collusion narrative continue. A political campaign aide for Trump during the campaign, Michael Caputo, exploded at Senate Democrat aides because they have asked him now so many questions about his supposed ties to Russia, to Putin. He's had to hire an army of lawyers. By the way, they found nothing on this guy. He has spent over $125,000. He now says he's lost his house. His kids have been economically ruined. And as he shouted out at Senate Democrats, their aides, quote, may God damn you to hell. I want to know who cost us so much money, who crushed our kids, who forced us out of our home, all because you lost an election. To stunned Senate Democratic aides, Michael Caputo says, God damn you to hell. And my friends, it's not just this Michael Caputo, it's many others who are now being crushed by this Mueller witch hunt. So now, the liberals thinking they smell blood in the water. Jeffrey Toobin tells Alan Dershowitz yesterday on CNN, there's only one way out for Trump now. He needs to plead the fifth against self-incrimination. Take the fifth. Roll it, Jared.
Right. I think, yes, I agree with Alan that a subpoena is coming, and I agree that ultimately the president will lose. I disagree that the courts will limit the Mueller much in what he can ask. I think he will be allowed to ask about motive because I think it's relevant, but the larger point is, I think the president has a way of short-circuiting this entire process, and I think that's what he's going to do, ultimately, which is take the fifth, which is refuse to answer. No. Can I finish, Alan?
There's just no way he's going to do that.
And Alan Dershowitz then says, Jeff, let me tell you why he would be insane to plead the fifth. Roll it, Jared.
The president will denounce the process. It's a witch hunt. He doesn't want anything to do with this. There is nothing Mueller can do if the president takes the fifth.
Of course there is.
And I think
he gives him immunity, number one.
He's never going to give the president immunity.
Of course he is. Let me tell you why he'll give the president immunity, because immunity doesn't apply in an impeachment proceeding. And no matter what Rosenstein says, you're not going to get a reversal of the Justice Department and suddenly say, when the president is Trump, we've changed our mind. Now you can indict him. Now you can prosecute him. So he is at no risk of being indicted or prosecuted. He is at risk of being impeached. And if he foolishly takes the fifth, he gets to be asked all these same questions under immunity, and all the answers can be used against him in an impeachment proceeding. So I have to tell you, Jeffrey, you're an A+ student, but boy, on this one, taking the fifth, I'm not even going to give you your grade. It won't happen.
Watch it happen. Watch it happen. He's going to denounce.
Come back and we'll show this video.
Jeff,
No way is Trump going to plead the fifth for so many reasons. The biggest one is impeachment is a political process. Mueller can't legally indict Trump. That's not the issue. He can't send him to jail. Only Congress can impeach the president. But what he can do is issue his report and say, aha, I was asking him all of these questions. And you know what the president kept saying? I invoke the fifth. I plead the fifth. He's hiding. He's obstructing. That's what I believe Congress should impeach. And that's when Congress makes its move. So what the president needs to do is don't sit down with Mueller, fight this out in the court, and run the midterm elections, make it a referendum on Russia, collusion, impeachment, and Mueller. And if Trump does it, he wins. Agree? Disagree? 617-266-6868. All of your calls next. President Trump now says there is a new spirit at the State Department. He just visited it. Nick Bovey has those details in the RKO newsroom. Take it away, Nick.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
12:35 here on the great WRKO. Okay, coming up at 1:05, you don't want to miss it. I have an exclusive in-studio interview, really, with the man of the hour in Massachusetts, Scott Lively. He has stunned the Republican establishment, winning nearly 30% of the delegates at the state GOP convention over the weekend. He is now officially on the ballot and will challenge Charlie Faker, Governor Baker, in the Republican primary. I'll have him on for an exclusive interview. You don't want to miss it. But first, the showdown looms. Robert Mueller now says he will subpoena President Trump and legally coerce him, force him to sit down and answer every single one of his questions. Trump is now saying this is a setup. It's a trap. I will not do it. Mueller says you don't want to do it. We will go to court and the courts will force you to do it. What should the president do? And is he now in imminent danger of being impeached by Mueller and the Democrats? 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Joe in Millis, you're up next. Go ahead, Joe.
Good afternoon, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Thanks for what you're doing here. To me, it's quite clear that the only way to fight a special counsel is to appoint another special counsel, and maybe even a third. One for conflict of interest for all the players in this: Clapper, Mueller, Clinton, Obama, Fusion GPS, Comey, Loretta Lynch, Bill Clinton, and then another special counsel for the obstruction of justice. And you can name all those people all over again. But there's two things here going on. I'm not even a law student. I could go in court and clearly make a strong case for a majority of this stuff to get thrown out just on the conflict of interest with all these players in here.
Joe, have you had a chance to look at some of those 49 questions that Mueller wants to ask Trump?
I did. I saw some of them last night, and
they're unbelievable. Joe, I mean, look, I want to get you and everybody, I want you to, in all honesty, if you disagree with me, please let me know. I look at this and I'm like, this is laughable. He is asking the president, what were his feelings when Jeff Sessions recused himself? What were your feelings? Are you serious? He literally asked this question, Joe. Why do you continue to criticize and attack Andrew McCabe and James Comey? Well, I'll tell you why. One, because the Inspector General's report said that Andrew McCabe committed perjury and lied to the FBI 3 separate times, and that's why he was fired. And Comey is the dirtiest cop in America. But beyond that, they're private citizens. So what is it now? The president under the First Amendment cannot criticize public people? You're trying to criminalize now free speech? Are you kidding me? Well, that's one of the questions you're asking the president of the United States?
Well, Craig Jarrett brought up a good point last night on Fox, and he said Is he going to be asked about his dreams too? But I think the conflict of interest in a special counsel wouldn't be guided by the mainstream media. They would have no effect on the counsel. That's why I suggest a special counsel. They're not dictated by the power of the press.
No, I agree with you. Joe, look, I agree with you. I think he's got to do something, and I think appointing a second special counsel wouldn't hurt, and in fact would help a lot. And I agree with you. Thank you for that call. Look, he's got to do, I think, three things. He's got to tell Sessions, look, we're at war now. I mean, they're out to decapitate me. They are out to overturn a duly elected president of the United States. They're looking to overturn a legitimate, fair election. That's what's going on. And either you start appointing a second special counsel, because if Mueller's obviously not up for the job. If you're interested in Russia collusion, this is a fact. Hillary and the DNC paid the Russians through the Steele dossier to dig up dirt on Trump. This is a fact. Who took all that Russian money for Uranium One? Hillary. Who took over $100 million from the Russians into the Clinton Foundation? Hillary. Who paid all those FSB agents to give them dirt on President Trump and used it for the Steele dossier? The Hillary campaign and the DNC. Hey, Bobby, if you're looking for collusion, don't look at Trump. Look at Hillary. He's got to demand that a special counsel be appointed. I would say take this to the Supreme Court. The court is going to annihilate Mueller. Most of these questions are personal questions. The answer to almost every one of them is none of your business. Why'd you fire Comey? None of your business. Why do you continue to criticize Comey? I know he's your lover boy, but none of your business. What did you think when Sessions recused himself? None of your business. What I think, what my motives are, that's none of your business. And number three, run the midterm election. Literally nationalize it. Make it a referendum on Robert Mueller, on Russia, and on impeachment. And just, you give me a Republican Congress, I fire Mueller the next day. That's it. That's the way you guys want to play it. Let's play it. You want to get your base out? We're going to get my base out. And we'll see who wins. Let the chips fall. In other words, he's got to take the gloves off. Because, my friends, I'm telling you, if he doesn't, remember this, they're going to get him. They're going to get him. And Dershowitz is 1,000% correct. These questions are designed for him to talk and talk and talk and talk. Just muse. That's why he wants to know what he thought, his motives, what were you thinking? Just let him talk and talk and talk, and then he'll trip him up on some technicality. Mueller is a paid assassin. And that's why the entire establishment, all they want, just get Trump in that room. They've wanted that from the beginning. Just get him in that room. And once he's in that room, we can slice and dice him and cut his throat. And if I'm the president, don't go in there. It's an ambush. Bill in Andover, you're up next. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, good afternoon, Captain Kuhner. And
Bill, how are you, buddy? What's on your mind?
I'm doing good. Hell, first of all, Jeff, kudos to you, your team. God bless all of you.
Thank you,
Jeff,
Bill.
You are the modern day Paul Revere, and except for yelling out redcoats, you're calling out the turncoats, and all those turncoats that are up there in Washington, in the Justice Department, the FBI, the State Department, they're all turning on each other now, Jeff. Okay, Strovic and Lisa, they're turning on everybody. So what the president has to do is just what he did today. In his text that he sent out, he said, why are we talking about this? Let's talk about Korea. Let's talk about trade with China. And he went on, and I was like, I wanted to yell. I'm like, yes, that's what you got to do. Say all the stuff that we're doing, you know, all the good stuff. These people are going to burn themselves, Jeff. It's only a matter of time. And if I was a historian, now you call Joe there, he goes, yeah, I don't even have to be a law student. Jeff, what I'm learning from you, Joe Dezanovich, Alan Dershowitz, what I've been seeing on TV in the last 6 months is if people are in school right now, they should be just like exploding with this is history in the making. You know what I'm saying? And people like you are helping, get the truth out. That's what the Republicans need to do. Get the truth out. Take out ads. Say, this is who paid for the dossier. This is who did it. The Russians and Clinton did this. Take out ads in newspapers. Get the word out. Get the truth out. Because they're not going to hear it on the other TVs. You know that.
Bill, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. 617-266-6868 is the number. Arthur in Chestnut Hill. You're up next. Go ahead, Arthur.
Thanks, Jeff. Can you remember in the history of our republic that the minute a man president was elected president, immediately there was a special counsel appointed to go after him for a crime that there is no crime?
I'm sorry, can you say that again, Arthur?
Can you remember in the history of our republic that there was ever a special counsel appointed immediately after the president is elected?
No.
Inaugurated?
No.
This, something? Trump has been laying down for too long. He's had bad legal advice. When you're in the right, Jeff, okay, this is what life is. When you got right on your side, when you have the facts on your side, when you have the people on your side, you go to the American people and say, you know what? I've allowed this circus to go on for a year and a half. Okay, I've worked for the people of this country, and these people are working for against this country. They have a history of going after innocent people and convicting innocent people. And you know what? All these guys are all in the same gang. Comey and Fitzgerald, and they go after people who did nothing wrong. Yeah, and he's got right on his side. And, it's about time he challenged these people. And if they can't come up with the crime or anything like that, then he has the right to fire them. Okay? And you know something? You think he doesn't have a Justice Department that's on his side. Forget Sessions. Sessions is not going to do anything. And Rosenstein, should have been fired a long time for what he did. He turned around and got Sessions to recuse himself for no reason at all. Then he turned around and sent a letter to fire Comey. And after he fired Comey, he turned around and said and put a special counsel in place because he fired Comey after he sent him a letter to do it. And nowhere in the court is with all the people like Strzok, McCabe, Comey, Rosenstein, Bruce Orr. There's no way any court is going to convict this guy.
Arthur, as usual, you're right. I want to ask you this. You're a businessman, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Arthur, if I come into your office, you don't like the way I'm doing my job.
You're gone.
You don't like the way I dress. You don't like my attitude. Whatever. If you fire me, you're the owner. You run your business. That's your right. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. You know what's going on here? What goes on in the world? That this is what's called in the world of attorneys. That's why there's such scumbags. It's called nuisance cases. When people bring false suits against you, and you know what? Sometimes you have to. This is what's going on here is a nuisance case against the president, and he has the power to get rid of it. I mean, he's been patient long enough, and you know what? And like Alan Dershowitz said, he can't plead the fifth because then he'll be forced to answer questions because he'll get immunity. That's what happened to Sam Giancana. But he could plead the sixth, whereby he says, I can't answer these questions. But he'd be an idiot to go and answer questions because you know what? These questions are about why do you tweet? What are you thinking? Well, what kind of crap is that? This is the President of the United States.
Arthur.
Who the hell bothers a president with this garbage?
Amen. Arthur, thank you for that call. So look, just as Arthur, right? He's the boss. It's his company. Jeff, I don't like your attitude. You're gone. Jeff, you know what? You're not impressing me on the job, Jeff. You're gone. Jeff, you know what? You dress like a slob. You're gone. It doesn't matter what the reason is. He's the owner. He's got a right to fire somebody. It's the same thing with the President of the United States. Now, he had all the grounds in the world to fire Comey because we know he was spying on him. So, and if you want to know exactly what triggered it, if you want to go back just for 30 seconds, Comey peddles him this ridiculous, salacious, garbage Steele dossier. And so Trump then says to him, and even Comey admits this, Trump says, am I a target of this? He goes, oh, no, we're investigating collusion, but not you, Mr. President. Okay, so you guys think I'm innocent. Comey says, yeah, we think you're innocent. So Trump says, well, look, can you do me a favor then? Could you just say that in public, that you think I had nothing to do with Russia collusion? Comey says, well, no, I won't. And Trump says, what? You won't? Well, blank you, buddy, you're gone. So Comey, to Trump's face, said, no, we're investigating Russia collusion, but it's not about you, Mr. President. We think you're innocent. And so Trump says, okay, so can you say that in public? He says, no, I'm not. So Trump said, blank you. Now, I don't care who you are, any president would be infuriated. So let me get this straight. There is this cloud on my presidency. There's all these accusations and allegations being leaked against me, but you, my FBI director, are telling me now to my face that you think I'm innocent and that there's nothing to this regarding me, and I just want you to clear that, for everybody to know, and you won't do it? You're out. What they want to get Trump on is, when did you call Jeff Sessions? When did you hear about his conversations with the Russian ambassador? Oh, well, your recollection is different from, say, what Comey recollects or what somebody else recollects. Well, we have a discrepancy. And you know what? I believe Comey and, say, McCabe over you. I think you're lying to us, Mr. President. I'm sorry. That's a crime. I recommend impeachment. Just let him talk and talk and talk. And the strategy is they're going to use whatever words Trump says, use his words to hang him with. Mr. President, they're out to get you. Go to the American people and tell them I've dealt with this garbage long enough. I want a mandate. Do we put America first? Do I clean up the swamp or don't I? I want to fire Mueller. Yay or nay? That's the question in November. 617-266-6868. More with your calls. Next. 12:54 here on the great WRKO. Linda in Medford, you're up next. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Thank you. I still miss you in the morning with coffee, but I'm really annoyed with all of this foolishness. It's a terrible waste of the taxpayers' money. And I would like to see the mainstream media each day run a tally like they do for the national debt. But it seems to me that Trump has been playing softball. And what he should try doing is, as far as Comey and Mueller, really get it out there about their history in Boston. And probably even more relevant to people in different parts of the country was the anthrax, when Comey and Mueller were involved with the 2001 anthrax scare under the Bush administration.
Yes, I was in Washington at the time, Linda, and they blew it. They completely bungled it.
Yes, but the thing is, to me, they planted evidence. They made their mind up that this one scientist was behind it.
That's right. They framed him, and they almost destroyed the man.
Yes, but they're so stupid. They didn't check it out. They heard about these dogs, and they had been behind convictions, but they didn't look far enough and find out that most of the cases went back to court and were overturned. Finally, one of the judges told the prosecuting attorney he didn't want those dogs' testimony in his courthouse again. So they didn't even do a good job vetting the dogs.
Linda, honestly, Comey is a joke. Mueller is a joke. And they are partisan attack dogs. That's what they are. When they lock in on somebody, they seek to destroy that person. They have bungled, and case after case, they have destroyed person after person, and now they're trying to destroy the president. And thank you very much for that call. That's why Trump now, I think, has to draw a line in the sand. Now, this is a very important development, okay? It broke about 5 minutes ago. President Trump has now essentially fired his lead in-house Russia lawyer, Ty Cobbs, because Cobbs is the one that's been saying, cooperate, hand over documents. Mueller will eventually see reason. So basically, he was a peacetime consigliere. He now got rid of Ty Cobbs. This is very important. Do you know who he just hired on his legal team? One of Clinton's former impeachment lawyers, Emmett Floods. He's getting now impeachment lawyers because what he now realizes is Mueller's going for his throat. Mueller's going to go for a subpoena. They're going to try to coerce him to talk. And eventually, no matter what, Mueller's going to recommend that the president be indicted and that the president therefore should be impeached. So now the president is surrounding himself with lawyers who are there to help him fight off possible impeachment. So he can now see what's coming. We are now heading for a constitutional crisis. Scott in Weymouth, I got 1 minute. The floor is yours. Go.
Good afternoon, Jeff.
Scott, how are you, my friend?
Yes. All right, we got a minute. I heard you loud and clear. Real quick, three quick points. I'm going to get it all in 60 seconds.
Yes.
First of all, Alan Dershowitz, a brilliant mind. He confuses me how somebody can be so bright and be a liberal. Moving on, point two. This is a display of how gross the left is. And I believe, we've talked about this about a few weeks ago, it's going to bring out the conservative vote. Saying liberalism is so crazy, we need to keep in the midterm elections. Third point. This is my main point here, Jeff. We on, right?
Go. Keep going, Scott.
I am telling you right now, what is wrong with the left? They're crazy. We've said liberalism is a mental disorder. I'll open call and close every call with that statement. Okay, you know what, you crazy people? Okay, you know what, we'll give it to you. Go ahead, impeach Trump. I'm playing, devil's advocate. Okay, guess who's now your new president? President Pence.
No, I know.
Who is 5 times as conservative as Trump. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Find out a college girl he dated 20 years ago and try to impeach him too? I mean, what is their end game, Jeff? There's 6 people.
No, I know, Scott. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it's true. If they impeach Trump, what do you think they get? They get Pence. You think Trump is some kind of a conservative. Oh, you haven't seen Mike Pence. Scott Lively, in-house, next.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 100.7 WZLX HD2 Boston, an iHeart radio station.